got this side, right? You got the radiator and the reservoir. Properly mounted with no missing parts. Securely mounted and not leaking. None of the hoses should be leaking. With good clamps. With a good cap. Nice and tight. And it should be at the right level. The reservoir fluid should be at the right level. Then we go down here to the alternator. Properly mounted to the engine with no missing parts, no missing bolts. The wires should be nice and tight, no frayed wires, and it's belt driven. The belt should have 3/4 tension when you press it in the center. The belt should be ripped up or torn. Then we go in the middle where the water pump should be nice and tight, properly securely mounted to the engine with no missing parts, no missing bolts, not leaking. The hose, not ripped up or cut or torn, with a good clamp on it. Same belt runs the alternator and the water pump. The belt shouldn't be ripped up or torn. Okay, we're gonna go on the other side. On this side, we're gonna go with the engine oil. The engine oil should be at the right level at all times. I want to add engine oil, I'm gonna add it right here at the top. If I want to check my engine oil, I check it right here with the dipstick. It should not be leaking. Then we're gonna go down to the air compressor and the governor. The air compressor is gear driven, should be properly mounted with no missing parts and not leaking. None of the lines should be leaking with good connection to them. Then we're gonna go around here to the power steering gearbox. It's gear driven, should be properly mounted to the truck, no missing bolts, not leaking. The reservoir should be properly mounted with no missing parts, not cracked, broke, or leaking. Down to the water, to the power steering. The power steering pump, follow this hose right here. Power steering pump should be properly mounted, not leaking, no missing parts. None of these hoses should be leaking, not cut, ripped, or torn, with good clamps on them. My linkages are, my steering column should be not bent, cracked, or broke, working properly. My pitman armor should be nice and tight, no missing parts, not cracked or broke, no illegal welds on it. The drag link, not bent, cracked, or broke, no illegal welds on the drag link. Up here at the top, I got a rubber boot. Shouldn't be ripped or cut or torn. The U-joints right here should be well greased. I got all my caterpillars and castle nuts on both ends should be in place, not missing. I got rubber bushings right here on both ends. They shouldn't be ripped up or torn. Okay, then we're gonna go with the frame, my whole frame of the truck. Not cracked, broke, bent, no illegal welds on the frame. All my shocks on the truck should be properly mounted with no missing bolts, no missing parts, not leaking. Then we're gonna go with the leaf spring. This is the leaf springs, not cracked, broke, or bent, no illegal welds on the leaf spring. The leaf mount should be nice and tight, bolted down good, not with no illegal welds on the leaf mount. And all the U-bolts to hold the leaf springs down should be nice and tight with no missing bolts. Okay, then we go over here. The brake chamber, not cracked, broke, and not leaking. The hose to the brake chamber, not cracked, cut, or leaking, with good clamps on it. My ABS wire, not frayed, nice and tight. My slack adjuster and the push rod. The slack adjuster should be properly mounted, not leaking, no missing parts. The push rod should have a 1-inch free play when the brakes are released, with no missing parts. My drum and the pad should not be cracked, broke, with no oil in there. The pad should have no less than 1/4 of pad. No less than 1/4 of pad. Then we want to do the tire. The front tires should never recap. Back tires I can recap. Front tires, no recaps. I should have it no less than 432 in the front of depth. 100 pounds of air. No custom bubble in the tire. Okay, my air valve should not be leaking, touching the rim. If I want to check the inflation, I'm gonna check the inflation with the air gauge on the air stem. The rim shouldn't be cracked, bent, or broke. No illegal welds on the rim. All my lug nuts should be in place. No corrosion, no shiny threads. Lets me know they're not tight. Bolts are not tight. The hub oil seal, not missing any screws, not leaking, properly mounted. Okay, then we're gonna go down to the, we're gonna go down here. We're gonna do, that's the end caps up the door and stuff. Then we go down to the steps. Both sides of my steps properly mounted to the frame with no ice or oil up there. Right? The battery, properly mounted to the frame with no corrosion on the terminals and not leaking. The air tanks, properly mounted to the frame with no missing parts, not leaking. None of the lines are leaking. Fuel tank. The fuel tank, properly mounted to the frame with no missing parts and not leaking. No missing parts, not leaking. The gas cap should have a good T-chain and a seal in it. Not cracked or broke. None of the fuel lines should be leaking. My exhaust, properly mounted to the truck with no missing parts, not leaking. My dry shaft, not bent up, cracked, broke, no illegal welds on the dry shaft. All the U-joints should be well greased. The catwalk should have no ice or oil on the catwalk with no missing screws. You can probably have legal welds on that, but there's certain shit to run the truck. Okay, then we go to the airlines. The red airline is my emergency. The blue airline is my service. It should have no custom holes in them and not leaking on either end. The glad hands shouldn't be cracked, broke, and not leaking with good seals inside the glad hands. The green one is my electrical. It should have good terminals on both ends with no frayed wires. Okay, then we go over here. This is my fifth wheel. I got my fifth wheel. I got my platform. Should be mounted down onto the frame with no missing bolts. The fifth wheel in the platform mounted down on the frame with no missing bolts. It's not a sliding fifth wheel. Let them know that. It's not a sliding fifth wheel. I got my release arm and safety latch. Working properly, not bent up, not cracked, not broke, no illegal welds. All the safety pins on both sides, or all the safety pins on the fifth wheel, should be in place, not missing. The kingpin in the locking jar, not bent up, cracked, broke, no illegal welds. There should be no daylight between the apron and the skid plate. The skid plate should be well greased. And this is my gap. The gap shouldn't be beat up, cracked, or broke. This is the gap. Okay, then we go back to here. My leaf spring, my leaf mount, and my U-bolt. All three of those shouldn't be cracked, broke, shifted out of place, and no legal welds on it. Then I'm gonna go to my brake chamber back there. Same thing in the front. Not leaking, not dented, not properly mounted with no missing parts. The hole shouldn't be cut leaking. The push rods have back here the same thing, a 1 inch free plate when the brakes is released. My drum and pad, not cracked, broke, no illegal, not cracked, broke, no oil in there, and no less than 1/4 a pad on the brake pad. Okay, my tires. I got 2 tires. Both of the tires should be no less than 232. I can recap if I want to. 100 pounds of air in them, and no custom bubbles in the tire. I should have a 4-inch space between the 2 tires. Okay, I got 2 rims. Both of the rims shouldn't be cracked, broke, bent, no illegal welds on the rim. All my lug nuts should be in place, no shiny threads on the lug nuts, and no rusted trails on the lug nuts. This is my axle seal. It should not be leaking with no missing bolts. And both of my valve stems or air stems should be not touching the rim, not leaking. Then we go to the back here. My mud flaps, properly mounted, no missing parts. Mud flaps shouldn't be touching the ground. I think it's about 8 feet. Should be 8 feet from the ground. I got back here, I got my lights. There's 5 functions in the lights. The red ones, the red lights is my 4-ways, my ID lights, my signal lights, and my brake lights. The white light is my reverse. Shouldn't be cracked, broke, or missing. I got my header board right here. The header board should be no missing rivets, no holes, and no dents. Then we go on the side. We go on the side right here, on the side. All my DOT stickers should be in place, not faded out. My reflectors. My reflectors should not be cracked, broke, or missing. The front should be amber. The red should be, the back should be red. Then we go over here to the, and some of the trailers on the thing, some of these trailers come with a side door. This trailer don't have a side door. Okay, landing gear. This is my landing gear. There should be nothing cracked, bent, broke, no illegal welds on it. This is the leg. That's my boot. That's my crank arm. The crank arm has 2 speeds, high and low. These are my support beams for the landing gear. Under here I got cross members. It should not be missing, bent, cracked, or broke, and no holes in the floor, in the trailer floor. Then we come back here. I got a torque rod. It should not be cracked, broke, bent, no illegal welds on the torque rod. One side is adjustable, which is this side. The other side is not. This side is adjustable. Okay, we got the leaf spring mount. It's welded. It's welded back here and it's bolted in the front. The leaf spring should be nice and mounted to the leaf mount, not cracked and broke, no legal welds. The U-bolts in place, nice and tight, no missing U-bolts. Same thing. I got my drumming, I got my brake chamber and hose. The brake chamber is the same in the front. It shouldn't be cracked, broke, or leaking. Nice and tight, no missing part. The hose should be cut up, ripped up, or torn. Not leaking on the hose with good clamps. The slack adjusting push rod sits behind the brake chamber. It shouldn't be leaking, no missing parts. The push rod back here should have a 1-inch free plate with abrasive release. And the drumming pad. Not cracked, broke, no leak, not cracked, broke, and no oil in there. No less than 1/4 of pad back here. Same thing back here again. I got 2 tires, 2 rims, and 2 air stems. My 2 tires back here the same. No less than 232, no custom bubbles, 100 pounds of air. And I can recap if I want to. Same, I should have a 4-inch space between 2 tires back here. Both of my rims, not cracked, broke, bent, no illegal welds on the rim. There's a hub oil seal back here. It shouldn't be leaking, no missing parts. All my lug nuts should be in place, not missing, no shiny threads, no rusted threads. This is my marker lights. On the other truck that's sitting up here, the marker lights on both sides should be working properly, not cracked, broke, or missing. Then we come up here. The 3 lights on the top indicates commercial truck. And my door should come down and would come down and close nice and tight with a good latch property. My pintle hook not bent, cracked, no missing bolts, no illegal welds, chain guard in place, no illegal welds. The airline's not leaking on the close and in the closed position. The DOT bumper is not dented or cracked. My lights, 4-way lights, tail lights, ID lights, turn signals, and brake lights. Not cracked, broke, or missing. My mud flaps, I've got to get the mud flaps. Mud flaps should be properly mounted with no missing parts, not touching the ground. Okay, then we go on this side. One thing about a tire. I have a crank arm on the other side, no crank arm on this side. I have a fuel tank and an exhaust on this side, not one on that side. I have a battery on that side and a battery on this side. When some of the trucks come dual. I have a convex mirror on this side, no convex mirror on that side. Don't worry about that. And that concludes the